Welcome, everybody, to another episode of DYAD Lounge, where we talk about books, comics, TV shows, and all things Star Wars. In this episode, we are talking about Tales of the Jedi Choices.
Yeah, this one is a fantastic episode. I'm really excited to get into it and talk about it because we were worried it would spawn some Mace Windu hate. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into the DYAD Lounge. All right, let's get started by we're going to go around and have everyone introduce yourself. So let us know who you are and where we can find your awesome content. We'll go to Young first.
Hi, I'm Young, Lothal Youngling on TikTok and sort of Twitter. I don't really use it. And I have a podcast with my friend J Comic 7 called There Are More of Us on Apple and Spotify.
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm on TikTok. I'm at samepat_separatist rebel. On TikTok, it's samepat_of_stars. And I'm your local and resident separatist apologist.
As well as being an excellent artist. But every time you come on, I have to say, you're starting to sound like a separatist.
Favorite line.
So same name on everything. Ducks and Download for the YouTube and TikTok. TikTok is filled up with more fun stuff, including my cosplay content. And then YouTube has all of my anti-Mace, Old Republic love, and the Jedi aren't as cool as they should be, Sith are number one kind of propaganda that I spew.
Jedi Master DePaul. You can find me on TikTok at Jedi Master DePaul. Also on YouTube on the Conspiracy Cantina podcast. So yeah, check me out there.
But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the episode.
So we are talking about choices. In the previous episode, Justice, we saw the seeds of kind of corruption within the Senate, with a senator who is largely, reaping the benefits of their position and seeing their town and villages suffer for that, and continue into choices with a master Jedi, Katri, who is murdered because of a senator. The guards who had an agenda of their own, which seems to be sowing the seeds of the separatist movement.
So coming from the political ideology background, I formulated two ideological models that I analyze separatists from, and the one I obviously I argue for the most, and this episode really gives background for, is what I call the revolutionary model, and it's based on the Revolutionary War. And the steps that happened towards America breaking away from Great Britain, and that's what the guards say, and the reasons they give for the actions that they're taking really fall in more lines of step with this revolutionary model, that they've tried doing things to rectify mistakes, but now it's getting to the point where they just have to take another sort of action.
The big thing that I saw, especially the really big thing that I saw when I was looking at this idea of separating from the Republic, especially from these guards' view, this isn't just separating, though, from the Republic. This is separating from the dogma that the Republic also brings with it, that you are always going to be safe and you're always going to be secure. But as we know, that's not true. That's the whole fall of the Jedi now, though, is the fact that they have become wrapped up in politics. So everyone who looks at them only sees them guarding senators, sees them walking around in luxurious robes with luxurious people. They're no longer the everyman's warrior anymore. And that's going to lead into a lot of other planets and systems feeling the exact same way, because all they're seeing is the money being siphoned out of them, being bled out of them, while their senator gallivants around the galaxy with Jedi during, getting ready for nothing. There's not even anything going on now. There's no war. So why are these Jedi? It's like, why do cops get all these brand new vehicles? Man, we ain't no crime going on.
I was thinking, I can't, honestly, that's what you said is on point. The way people, just looking at the dynamic of it, is like, the general people see it as nothing's going on, no major wars going on, but you have all your leaders and your rich people get these extravagant bodyguards. superhero bodyguard. So it's like it sucks. So then it's just like he says, they're milking everything else dry, and so I can see just like the dynamics and like the whole how people can see things being corrupt from the Jedi on the Jedi's standpoint, but yeah, it's I'm pretty sure we'll get more into that one.
I just like this episode because I don't know much about Dooku, and even from the first from Justice, we you just see a shift in Dooku, and this further pushes him away, disenchants him from him being a Jedi. It's just interesting to see.
But that kind of leads to exactly what happened, though. That's the beauty of the fall of this. Without getting too far ahead, the ego that comes with the Jedi.
I do have to stop you right there, because they do not restrict you from being free and expressive of your thoughts. It's a misconception of the Jedi, really. I mean, the Jedi, through their training, bore people like Count Dooku and Qui-Gon and Quinlan Vos. So you can't really look at certain instances in the timeline and think that is the norm.
But it is the norm for that timeline.
It is the norm of what we're seeing.
Yeah, because that is of course the narrative and story that has to be in the background to build the plot.
But just speaking in generality, like if you think a system is made to not nurture critical thinking and free thinking, but that system bears people who have those skills, it's a little it's inconsistent.
Then those systems should not always seem to falter and persecute those people who then fall to the other dark side.
Ooh, that's another one. That's another
Yeah.
conversation. We're getting into our Dyad Lounge conversation already. We're on choices, people.
That's the beauty of it. That's
No, it's nice, to have these conversations. But I will say, I feel like there's a projection of the Senate and the Republic and the Jedi being the same thing. We're seeing corruption in the Senate. Absolutely. We're seeing what will lead to the fall of the Republic. We're seeing what is going to lead to the separatist movement separating. But, like the previous episode, a politician's son was kidnapped. That's why a Jedi was involved. This senator reached out personally to Master Katru. Now, what their relationship is, I don't know, but I don't know that I would say this was the fall of the Jedi. Like, the only Jedi wearing extravagant clothes is Dooku, and the only one who wants to be involved in politics is Dooku. He left the Order to become a politician. So I kind of see the opposite, but that's kind of the beauty of discussion. But one thing for me in this episode, it did show the rift in how Count Dooku just thought, and how he wasn't off base in how he thought. They both had a mission. They both went to collect the body. They asked the senator questions. They both could tell that this guy was hiding something. There is a lot more to this story. Dooku, wanted to investigate right now because he believed that was right. And I'd feel the exact same way. Mace, stickler to the rules. He wanted to go back, tell the council what they found, that they're hiding more, and then that could beget a formal investigation into the politics.
Maybe.
No, that's what he says in the episode. Whether or not he followed through, I don't know, but he's so by the book that I can't see him not following through with his words.
Oh yeah, he would have told him. Yeah, he would have told him. What would they have done?
So, and we don't know, and that is my problem with Mace, is he had too much trust in this system. But I mean, canonically, he's actually the least politically minded Jedi.
I feel like Mace and Dooku should have had the same moment that a lot of Jedi needed to have together, where they just went, "Bro, are we okay? Are we cool?" And then they could have just been like, "Yeah, what do you mean? I'm fine." As someone who has a very big, Neanderthal forehead and has a pretty big, good dad brow, like we talked about, I can get that all the time. And I understand poor Mace when people are like, "You're not angry, right?" I'm like, "Oh, no. That's just resting face."
That's actually something I had to learn myself.
Yeah.
I've always had problems with the circumstances and the Jedi's actions around Cypher Dia's death, and how they just accepted it. And but now, like, looking back at this thing and the discussion between Mace and Dooku, and seeing how they just are going the parameters just to go to collect the body. If anything, they go back to council and then see what happens there, and the discussions happen forth. And it makes sense now to me, like, why nothing went further on Cypher Diaz, because he was, correct me if I'm wrong, he died trying to help a local political situation, and at least that's what the official story was. So when whoever went to go collect his body, coming up the same circumstances here, it's just to collect the body. If there's anything off, they probably would have just gone back to the council.
I don't know if there was any evidence of foul play, but they probably didn't have any kind of cause to suspect anything further than just a crash.
So it definitely cleared up for that, and that rest easier with me than before.
One of the more interesting things about this episode is Dooku is also sowing his own seeds. So the seeds of separation are there, We got these guards that have contrary ideologies to what they are living in. But Dooku also is sowing seeds that he is going to, because this is Raxus Secundus, right? This is like next to Raxus Prime, which becomes the capital of the Separatists. And he's just like sowing the seeds there. He's inceptioning this guard. He's like, "I don't condone your actions, but make sure you keep
Don't
going.
lose your heart." Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, "I'm back. I'm the leader of the Separatists."
Gave himself.
And in the back, there's just that one guy. Yeah.
I knew you'd be back.
I know that guy.
What did you guys think of? What did you guys think of this part with Dooku and like sowing the seeds of his own like takeover?
I really enjoy again how this could lead right into Dooku Jedi Lost. This mindset where you see Dooku just kind of like dropping these fun little ploys of just like, but what if you don't stop thinking what you're thinking? Never once telling anyone to think anything wrong. Never once implying, hey, they suck, right? Just being like, no, but what if you just think about the situation you're in more than you should and walk off? So I really enjoy the subtlety of it, because that's all it really takes to get some people to rebel if they're already in the mindset. It's just that little push, just a little, someone's here to catch you if you fall, and walk off. And they're like, well, yeah, someone's there to catch me. I'm gonna fight for what I believe in, even though I don't really know exactly what I believe in at the moment, but I hear a lot of people shouting, and we're gonna follow this movement. But it takes that moment. It takes the little sparks to start a fire, to create a wildfiring uproar that becomes a movement.
I saw that part. I didn't think that he was. It didn't sit in my head or settle in my head that he was planting his own seeds. I was like, okay, well, he's just now really understanding the Jedi ain't got it all together, and it's just messy right now. And I actually did a video about it. It's like, he basically was saying you ain't wrong, but the way you went about it is messed up.
You don't shoot her in the back. It's a good hostage. You keep him alive.
and that's what I got from it. I was like, oh, okay, damn. So that's me. Is it was, because I haven't read Dooku Jedi Lost. So for me, it's okay, there's different perspectives. I'm oh, well, this is just another nudge for Dooku to the dark side, to hey, I'm separating myself away from the Jedi.
Yeah,
And remember, this is still sometime after he almost, murdered that other senator in the previous episode.
True.
The path to the dark side is a deliberate one that he had already began sometime in the past. But
I mean, so I was just thinking about it. So in Justice, he sees how, I guess, the common man views the Senate and sees the corruption. And then this episode, I guess, who's safe, I don't know if it confirms, but sheds more light onto how the Jedi are viewed as almost like guilty by association. It's finally seeing how the Jedi are being viewed, and it's further pushing him away.
Young, were you talking about how the guard calls them the lapdogs of the Senate?
Yeah.
And then they're only doing the law and order for the rich and powerful?
Yeah, I think that definitely slapped him, because for the Jedi, they're, as someone, Mace said, supposed to be peacekeepers, yet it seems like a majority of the peace that they keep is for the protection of the rich and powerful. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't sit well with Dooku in any capacity. And it also kind of makes sense of why he almost killed that other senator in the previous episode, because he was fighting for the people. And did he take it a little too far? Yes, he did. Murder's not good. But he was fighting for the people as opposed to the leaders of the people.
This is why we need more young Jedi adventures and tales of the Jedi that are not centered around people who are going to fall, because all we're seeing is the downfall, because there are 10,000 Jedi out there at this time. And not all 10,000 are working for senators. They are helping people.
Farmers and scientists and all this stuff. But it is very telling of what is going to happen with the Jedi and how Palpatine will be able to manipulate the situation. Being keepers of the peace and not being involved in these people's politics means that in the previous episode, he can't just murder this senator because he was doing something dirty, right? All he's there to do is safely get this kid home. And that's kind of the same thing in this episode. And it's interesting because, with Palpatine, we have, I will make it legal. He puts pressure to change laws to make terrible things legal, and then he's working within a whole framework where now he needs the Jedi to finally he was pushing them to attack him so he could do Order 66. But it's interesting how there's that interplay, because what's the alternative? If there is two countries on the brink of war, is it improper to reach out to the Jedi as a third party to come negotiate? That's what happened with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going to Naboo. That's exactly what they were there to do. So it's interesting because it's a very similar situation. Those two played out very, very differently. But it goes to show you that the complexity of the Star Wars universe, where everyone has a purpose. Only Palpatine is like, I'm being evil because like evil, Well,
and that's like kind of to counteract a bit of what Pep said. It's the same with dark side users, though. It's only like there's a smaller percent of dark side users that are purely like Palpatine, or like, I just like to torture people. The rest of them are far more like Dooku, where they're like, hey man, I'm just trying to do what I believe is good, and I gotta fry a few people to do it. So is it good to kill the senator who is destroying his planet? No. Would it stop all the problems? Yeah. And then his son would take over, who's apparently a pretty cool guy. So there we go. That'll work out, hopefully. Who knows if his uncle, though, might somehow slip in and cause like a huge civil war. There's all kinds of repercussions that can come from it. But at the same time, sometimes to cure infection, you have to lop off the dead part of the tree.
Yeah.
So are you arguing for more political interference by continual assassination of heads of state?
Or it's not always a head of state, though. That's the thing. It's not always a head of state.
You want to turn the Jedi into the CIA.
That is not entirely. That's also my problem with the Jedi to begin with, and why my stuff always goes more to the other side of things, because it's... because
the Sith are more like the CIA.
Yeah, right. Totally. Yeah.
Destabilizing nations and controlling governments behind the
That's so
scenes.
funny.
Yes.
I mean, like, I
Because nobody's right, sadly. That's the fun of the duality. Nobody's completely right.
Yeah.
One
but
group
the
is
Sith
trying
are
to be.
completely wrong.
The very evil ones, yes. The extremely, because that's.
The Sith are wrong. I mean, we can make an episode out of this too. I made a video about this.
I will have.
About the rule of 2.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what are rules to Sith if not to break chains? You know, their chains meant to be broken. It's like, I will break my chains. That's their code. First of all, the Sith order, calling yourselves an order, when your code is to be chaotic, and then you have a code. So it's so.
I've been re-listening to Bane, the Darth Bane trilogy, and doing my, constant meditation under the sounds of millions of screams because it's really peaceful. And I understand where people think that, but to me, it's the faulty way of looking at the Sith, and it's the same fault that Darth Bane had. You're looking at, these people just keep fighting and fighting, and there's all this death and destruction. How can you be a stable ground? Because eventually you get people who have a stalemate, and they have to keep fighting and getting better. And then those people, it was like, Bane didn't like it because 3 weak Sith would join up and kill 1 powerful Sith. But if you just constantly keep introducing more powerful Sith and they have to keep fighting, it's like throwing stones at a blade to sharpen it. You might ding it a few times, but eventually, you're going to get good enough. You'll sharpen a few parts of it. You're going to, a few parts will be really blunt, but you're going to get a few parts really right. It's going to be really sharp.
But that's the inherent incorrectness of the Sith order. When you want to be a part of something, and that something is constantly working against you, where let's move away.
Isn't that's life though? Life is working against you.
Not really. Me and Choco work together just fine.
Choco's life.
When you have we're gonna go outside of like pre-rule of 2, right? Because they're always fighting. The rule of 2, even one to possess the power, one to covet it. And if you're working in a system where that person is always wanting that power to take it from you, you are never in a state of order. You're always in a state of angst. Right?
That's the point, though.
So, how do you have a Sith order based on betrayal? Like, you can't trust anyone, and
because betrayal is the order. You're not supposed to be comfortable.
How is that a good thing, though?
Oh, I'm not. No one says it's good. No, it's not good.
Sorry.
No. I might advocate for the Sith because it's a fun argument, but like, if anything else, I'm more like acolyte of a Beyond or something. We just kind of sit there and like, I'm not actually trying to take over planets. I just like to dabble in a little bit of hoodoo sometimes. Okay.
Oh, you're the descendants.
Yeah, I'm not like, full-blown Sith is evil. The Sith code wants you to conquer. The Jedi code is the opposite. The Jedi code wants you to have inner peace and not harm those around you. And yet, like Dooku sees and Windu can't because he follows the rules too much, them simply following the rules the whole time is hurting a lot of people. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, though. That's the other problem. I'm not going to take that away from the Jedi. If you, like Yoda says, if we push too much, are we any better than the Sith? Like, we can't make a government do what we want them to do for the betterment of the poor people, because that's not our place either. It's a hard role. They have a very hard role in the galaxy. It sucks. It's a hard role to be a Jedi.
Not necessarily. No. I mean, I don't think it's a hard role.
Paul.
I don't think it's a hard role, depending on what your rules are. Like, if you're going in to be a diplomatic, like most how Jedi are supposed to be going there, hey, we're peacekeepers. You're not an enforcer. That's the thing. And that's the difference of a peacekeeper rather than an enforcer. So if you're going to enforce the stuff, hey, if somebody's at war, y'all need to stop this. We're here to mediate, and hey, chill out.
Well, they weren't doing that though.
Exactly.
I mean, all their masters are like Mace Windu is not. He might be. Oh, he's a great negotiator. No, he's not. He looks extremely rude, and he's to the point. He's blunt.
But no, he is. He has no emotion.
He negotiated on Ryloth pretty damn well.
He has no emotion, and that's
that ended really well for the Twi'leks.
Because if you have emotions, then
That's
people
a
will
power.
Look at the senator,
side of
though.
people.
Yeah, Mace Windu and his politics put that guy in charge, and he totally did good things for the people.
Windu is an excellent negotiator. He presents the logics and the facts as you should. It's up to other people how they interpreted his.
He's always
Prison.
good faith. That
So you're
can
saying
count
he
on.
just so you're saying he just doesn't have good bedside manner, and that's what
Exactly.
causes things to go south.
Which you think a Jedi Master should probably have.
Well, really? I mean, it's
You're
like
the
a
Grand
doctor.
Master of the entire order. You're supposed to be the best of all of them.
But you like good at negotiating. He's just not good at his delivery. But he's still
He's not
good
charismatic.
Does anyone know MASH?
Huh?
Mash.
MASH, the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Obi-Wan Kenobi is Hawkeye, and Mace Windu is Charles Emerson Winsetter. Both great doctors. Totally different personality and manners.
Yeah, I largely think the title is arbitrary. I think Master of the Order doesn't mean he's the best of all of them, but he's good at representing their votes. Just like the Grand Master is the wisest of them all, but doesn't mean that he is wiser than everyone. Everyone has
But
different...
no one's going to look at it that way. That's the other issue.
That's how I interpret it. I'm pretty sure that's how Yoda interprets it. I don't think he thinks he's the smartest and the wisest of everybody. But
It would probably help
his-
if he told more people that.
But I mean, do you really need to tell people that? I mean,
If you're a young,
listen,
impressionable
guys, I
little
just wanna
mind,
make
that's what you're going to think.
I'm walking down this hallway. I'm not the wisest.
Yeah.
I may be the oldest, but not the wisest.
But that's the fun of the Fall of the Jedi to me, is because this legend of Yoda got to permeate in the youngling minds before Yoda himself. Oh, Yoda's this great master of the Force; he can do no wrong. Or oh, Mace Windu is the most amazing fighter in the entire world who can stop any moment and destroy any army and take down any problem that he sees before him. They got idolized. They became these grand things instead of being like, no, humble yourself. I must humble.
But Yoda didn't like being idolized. He didn't like putting himself in points of power where he had to use his power.
I mean,
Yeah, I
Pat
can't
said-
think of a single thing that Yoda. I mean, other people may have perceived them this way, but I can't think of a single thing that Yoda or Mace did to elevate themselves over anyone.
True, but the perceptions of others are powerful.
The
Oh,
perceptions
I'm
of
not
others
saying
are
I'm
powerful,
not saying
but
that
you
they're not.
You can't
but-
control them.
No,
Just as much
Yeah.
as Choco and I say, we're regular dudes. Come say hi to us. But we can't control how others are gonna like be nervous to come up to us and you know.
Exactly.
And then that's the beauty of almost every argument in Star Wars, because it's all from a certain point of view, and sadly they just didn't get together and say like, hey, are you thinking what I'm thinking? No, I was thinking this. Oh man, we should have talked this out sooner. We could have solved all these problems.
And this is why the fall of Count Dooku to the Dark Jedi always fascinates me the most of any
Exactly,
fall.
Pat.
Well, thank you. Because if anyone in Star Wars can idolize the idiom "the road to good intentions," it's Dooku, because he was born a Jedi, but he found his niche in politics, and a good politician always uses assets to help his cause. He happened to be a Force user and a Jedi, and power corrupts absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's what happened with Dooku. He used his influence of the Jedi as a Force user in his politicians and leading the people, and we see in the next episode going down. It just leads him from I want there to be a separation of church and state to the Jedi must die and I must be the Lord of the Sith.
The path to hell is paved in golden bricks and good intentions.
That's a hell of a saying right there.
Is that from something, or did you just make that up on the
It's
fly?
something my family's said for a long time. We're Southern. We have a lot of metaphors and idioms, so
And Duke is a good example of like that perception, right? You know, in Dooku Jedi Lost, he doesn't go to Yoda with his problem, but Yoda tells him, "I would have helped." So, is it Yoda's fault for someone else thinking he wouldn't have helped, and he didn't go to him, or is it that person's fault for basically thinking, You would have said no. You know what I mean? You know that situation where you're like, why didn't you ask me? He's like, but you would have said no. It's like, how do you know?
That's gonna be like my entire argument for Anakin and Mace Windu.
Katam, bring out Katam from High Republic. Is that Yoda's? Is that their name?
I'm sorry?
From High Republic, Yoda's apprentice.
Canton.
Canton.
Canton Side.
And I love introducing him as another apprentice of Yoda, and so we get the difference between him and Dooku, and how they dealt with the Jedi Order. Because Dooku doesn't think he can go to Yoda and talk about all the things he's feeling, but I believe Cantum comes up to Yoda and says, I need a break, I need to go away. And Yoda was recognizing this both ways, like he does in both Padawans, but he knew that the Padawans have to come up to him, that his apprentices have to approach him, that it's a decision that they have to make.
Not every one of them, though, because if some of them are scared to do so, it is your job as a mentor to understand that scared and that frightenedness and to go and help them.
Well, no, I disagree with that. As a mentor and being in mentor positions, it is not your job to enable them. It's your job to identify it and see it, but it's not your job to actually say, "Hey, I see you're having some issues like this." That's the whole part of it, of mentorship, is actually to be able to identify it, but make sure they're going down the right path to fix the problem.
And there's never a special occasion to that. It's always that one way of doing things.
Well, that kind of leads,
because that's going to more generality where you're going to lose people.
but that leads me to a question, right?
Okay.
10,000 Jedi active at that time. They ever lost 20, right? And they've been around thousands of generations. And so Yoda's training all of these younglings, and he stands amongst them. He's kind, he's warm to them. They feel comfortable talking. He's never demanding. He'll ask them, what do you guys think you should do in this situation? And they and has that good relationship. Why would that stop? I don't see why. And especially if there's 10,000, two of them go bad.
He's trained.
I don't see how, percentage wise, if you're manufacturing and you get two issues out of 10,000, you're not doing too bad,
Right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's part of it as well. But of course, Dooku Jedi Lost, we know that he was already dabbling in the dark side, and he was already going down a path and already wanting to get involved in these politics. I don't know. I just see every time someone honestly and earnestly asks anyone in the Order for help, they've always gotten it in all the media that we've seen.
Yeah.
If they're like Anakin, they don't actually say what's going on, then you're not going to get you're not going to get what you're looking for.
And maybe it's just from my troubled youth past, my old troubled days. But I know a lot of people like Anakin and like Count Dooku. I was one of them for the longest part of my life. I was exactly one of them, which is probably why I kind of relate to this dark side so much. Because I have a lot of, bad things happen to some people, and they become very reclusive because those horrible things happen to them in their lives. And because of those horrible things, they don't feel like they can trust anyone, or like they're not allowed to because they have to be strong for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that turns into pain, which literally does turn into anger, which turns into hate and suffering. It does do that. I felt it. I was the grown man who chose not to for a long time as well. And I know multiple, but it literally just took one person going, hey man, it was the right person at the right time. And for a lot of people, sadly, it doesn't work, which is sad. But some
Anakin,
people,
it was Luke at the very end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just takes the right person at the right time to be like just that right hand. And I reached back out and I took that hand and I was like, oh my God, I can be the better person. Everyone stops asking and no one asks because it's supposed to be their job to come forward. Then you don't know if you missed the chance to save that person.
Yes,
it's a mixture. It's again, everything in this world is damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, hold on. I think the point that's we're trying to make, or at least what DePaul is trying to make, is that the onus isn't on the person to figure out if you have a problem. And so when you do have a problem, it's not their fault if they don't approach you. But they can approach you about it if they want. And if they help you, they help you. But if you have a huge downward spiral, and no one asks you about it, and you don't approach anybody else about that problem, it's not their fault.
It's true. If only people that are doing that would see it that way, though. That's the other problem with it, is it's the double edge of the sword is with those spirals usually does come outward hate, just from the emotions of hate towards oneself. They don't want to feel that, so they push it out.
Mm-hmm. I do have kind of a question for everyone, though. Because in the episode, we get the conversation, with the guard while they're still on the planet after their investigation skills and just murking all those droids. And when they talk about, like, you should have asked Master Katri, had those people talked to Master Katri, do you think she would have helped? Do you think something would have happened? I'm curious, how you guys feel about that.
I would say yes, she would have helped. Not right at that second, but she would have took it back to the order, said, "Hey, this is what's going on. This is my report. I think we should do something." And then the whole process would have happened. Like, okay, we'll go with the council and talk to them and see what we should do. If is there a place to do this? And there would have been a whole uproar to the Senate. Hey, this is what's going on. What are y'all doing? We can't really get involved with this. Are you going to address it? Are you going to remove this person out of power? X, Y, Z. I think that would have happened.
I agree with DePaul entirely on that one. She would have taken it to the Senate, or she would have taken it back to the council. The council would have gone through exactly the means they were meant to, and two things would have happened. Good change, or it got lost in the bureaucracy and he would have continued his bad stuff and it would have just made things worse. But but she would have definitely tried, 100%.
Yeah, I think we see this in you see this in the prequels too. For the most part in the prequels, the Jedi are a little bit hesitant and apprehensive about confronting the Senate for anything, confronting Palpatine for anything, because he's the Supreme Chancellor. But as soon as Anakin goes back, he's like, I think I found the Sith Lord you've been looking for. And they're like, okay, let's go arrest him immediately. But of course, that's, he betrays Mace and Order 66 happens. But like, I think essentially we see that as soon as the problem has been identified, the Jedi would act on it.
It's funny you bring that up, because that also goes into Attack of the Clones, right? Obi-Wan is on this mission where he's pretending like he knows what's happening. He has no goddamn idea what's going on, but he lands on Geonosis, and he could continue to investigate himself. But what he does is he stops, calls the council to tell them what's going on, or he sends it to Anakin to relay the message to the council. What do? Mace shows up with a boatload of Jedi and confronts Dooku directly, even though just a while ago he was like, I don't believe he could hurt anyone. He's a political idealist. Yeah, they didn't believe it, but they still came running, and they came carrying a big glowing stick.
And just to propel us forward towards wrapping this episode up, we get to the final moments in this episode where we finally see the cracks in Dooku, in the fact that he is jealous. Well, I don't know if he's jealous, but he is definitely making his disapproval known that Mace got Katri's seat on the council, and he's pretty maybe he's like bottling it up, but he's like, damn you, Mace Windu.
Yeah, the line where he specifically asks, did you know about this before we left, kind of like makes you feel like he already thinks in his mind, oh, Mace Windu didn't want to investigate this because he just wanted to get the seat on the council. So his mind's already immediately going to dark places, like right off the bat.
Meanwhile, Mace had no idea. He's just autistic. And he's like, I found out the exact.
That would explain so much. He's just like, I was smiling this whole time.
I would happily claim him in the camp.
That's so funny.
I honestly believe that's a personal headcanon that I
No, yeah, you
talk
shook
but,
my world.
But with how blunt he is, and there's no inner dialogue, and he's just it follows the rules, doesn't actually there's no ego in it.
Just that he just seems super taken aback, and then maybe felt underappreciated for what he had given to the Jedi Order the entire time. And he's just like, you know what? I'm done. Bye.
I would say for this scene, I really do wish they would have made some emotion, because I would love to see it like kind of like you said, that whole interaction. And when Dooku said, "Hey, did you know about this?" He's like, "Bro, like what the fuck?" Like, man, I was with you.
It's 11 p.m. at night. Do you know where your Anakin is?
Yes, it's in Mischief Town somewhere.
Inside a senator.
Yeah.
Damn.
What do you call your Anakin?
I'm sorry.
Get some of that Naboo.
That seems like a great.
Said it.
That seems like a great place to cut this off and start wrapping things up.
Choco, you killed me.
We'll go around the table, get everyone to let everybody know where they can find you and your wonderful content, as well as any final thoughts on choices. And we'll start with DePaul this time.
Sorry, Choco missed me. All right, you can Jedi Master DePaul on TikTok, and on YouTube you can find me at the Conspiracy Cantina. Don't have a set schedule, but usually when we do it, it's on Tuesdays. But we're back up and going. Haven't done lives yet, but we're going to be kicking them out with shorts and episodes for sure.
Dex and Download on TikTok and YouTube for longer content, and of course the House of Holocrons podcast every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Again, I'm St. Pat _Separatist Rebel on TikTok, and I'm St. Pat _ of stars at Twitter, and I'm just doing some cosplay prep right now. Hopefully soon I'll start moving forward on my Qui-Gon cosplay.
And hi, Lothal Youngling on TikTok and Twitter, primarily TikTok. I just ramble, especially after I've had wine and I'm stressed. And then there are more of us on Apple and Spotify, and we try to drop every Tuesday, but our schedules have been really, really erratic. So there have been a couple of gaps in our release schedule, but hopefully we'll get back onto that.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on this Dyad Lounge conversation. It has been a blast as always. Next one is a Sith Lord with Yaddle and Bryce Dallas Yaddle, as I said.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And good old Master Zappity Zap.
Don't forget our next lounge our lounge conversation is also with DePaul, and it's going to be answering the question: Are the Jedi a cult? And Choco will be taking the opposing side on that one. So look forward.
What's wrong with brother?
Look at the betrayal.
Did you know about this?
So look out for that one. Also, check out Darth Choco's weekly podcast live on his channel, Darth Choco, on YouTube, every Wednesday at 5, as well as DYAD in the Force every Saturday at 5 as well, Pacific time.
Kiari Mundi's hoodie freaks me out. But other than that, yeah.
Hey,
That's the
you
end.
remind me of Obi-Wan and A New Hope when he was scaring away the damn the sand people.
Oh, God. That was his crate dragon. Well, that's the end. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We're all the Republic.
And Mace Windu is misunderstood. May the Force be with you.
Bye.